So we'll be looking at time plots or time series. We are actually saying that time plots are basically time series. They look at the variables against time, and time shall always be on the x-axis. So once you do your time series graph, you will be expected to analyze that. So we are saying the goal of time series analysis is to find patterns in the data and use the data for predictions. Remember that you have to do your forecasting. So you are actually using the patterns that you are able to see in that particular data set to project or forecast into the future. But obviously, there will be what we call data noise, which then you can start looking at smoothing techniques to actually smoothen that noise or to remove the noise. So I'm saying the goal of time series analysis is to find patterns in the data and use the data for predictions, because we have to predict, we need to have a preview of the future. For example, if your data is affected by past data, one way to model that behavior is through what they call autoregressive process, which is the AR process. This is why regression analysis is a very important topic in programming, because you are dealing with predictive analysis. So this is what you expect as the way a time plot or time series is supposed to look. You have seen on the y-axis, it will state, are you looking at the gallons? Are you looking at the kwacha per gallon or revenue per gallon? Are you looking at the population? And you want to analyze the population against the time from whatever year, if it's 2019, should we say from 2004 to 2019, how is the pricing moving? How is the population moving? That is the whole essence of creating a time plot or time series. You cannot, you will never, there. I don't know how you say it in Bemba. Yeah, how do they say it?
Takwakave.
Takwakave. As if I'm not married to a Bemba. Takwakave. Having a time series plot, a time series chart that will show the gallon, the revenue per gallon, the population, and the gallon per person within a single chart. It shall never be, it will never be. Because all you are trying to do, in short, guys, let me explain this. All you are trying to do when you come up with this time series chart, it's a very basic chart, is to determine, to actually see how your variable, it has been behaving against time or over time, sorry. Tamara, are you getting me?
Yes, coach.
I'll give you an example. If you look at the Zambian population, now we are actually about 18 or so. Get this data from World Bank. I have it anyway in Excel. You will find that the Zambian population for the last 15 or so years has been growing consistently so at the rate of 2.88%. There were some few years which were more of noisy. One of those years was 2001 to about 2003. Another year that was very noisy, or the period that that data set became a bit confused, because this data set from World Bank starts from 1960. It's from 1992 to about 1995. Do you know why? You should be students of data analysis, guys. It's very nice. You're too quiet. I want to hear from you. Chinzi, do you know why? Do you have reasons why data got confused in about 1992 to 1994, 95, and 2001 to about 2003 on the population?
No, what's the reason?
Funa Mansai.
Hey.
In 1992 to 1994, a lot of us, we lost our uncles. You were just hearing them because maybe you were not born then. They were your grandparents, a lot of them. Do you know why they were dying during that time? Guru, you were there, so you should know. Chinyama?
Yes, good. I'm thinking.
What could have caused that? I know tomorrow, someday, I'll show you that data and the analysis I did. Around that time, guys, HIV and AIDS claimed so many of our uncles, who to some were grandparents and grandmothers. When you check on the World Bank data that I have, on an annual basis, new HIV and AIDS cases were around 95,000 per year during that period. And that's a period that the country economically, it was struggling. And they had just moved into multipartyism. A lot of people died of stress, but because there was no medication, we lost a lot of our beloved ones. It's not this HIV and AIDS these days. Even the adverts, I'm sure Chinyama will tell you, there used to be a bird like an eagle, and it takes you up there. That is how they used to show. For our brothers and sisters in Southern Province, they used to even say Chiyoni. Chamu Jata Chiyoni. It's because of that eagle that would fly you up there. So I'll show you that data next time. Not Inakota. Inakota it's. Then, from 2001 to 2004, do you know why the population again then was noisy? Chinzi. Is Mr. Chidongo there?
No, he's traveled to Western, I think.
Okay, Rahab, you were there. 2001 to about 2004, what could have changed when you put it on the time plot? You find that the data, the population wasn't growing as much as it was supposed to grow at 2.8% plus. In 2001 to about 2004. Guys, try to even guess. That's part of learning. Tamara, Wenzeko.
Mugamba kuddaala ati nsigaye bubbaala.
During that time, guys, the country had contracted so much debt. Our GDP was about $3.5 to $4 billion. So most of the income that was being generated, it was actually going to service debt. And it was during that process that the government, with the Catholics, they were going around the world, what we call roadshows, to seek for debt service forgiveness under a program that they called HIPIC, Highly Indebted Poor Countries. So a lot of our brothers and sisters died during that time because it was so stressful. But after our debt was forgiven, meaning that the money, the incomes that we are generating, we are now using it for internal growth, not to pay debt. So Manawasa found the GDP at about 2 point whatever, about 3 billion. At the time of his death, the GDP had actually gone to 17 billion. Arabi left GDP at 23 billion. Mr. Sata, when he was dying, the GDP of this country was at 26 billion. So this is how you use the time series to try and find certain information, noise, to remove noise, but you'll be able to see the pattern of your data, and you know that during this time is because of that and that and that. So you start removing, smoothing areas of your data, which was actually caused by certain extraordinary things. I don't know if you're understanding the principle of time series thus far.
Making sense now.
Let's move on. So you can see here, this is the position. I said the following graph shows a physics-related time plot with the position versus time for two spark taps pulled through a spark timer at different constant speeds. So it shows this. But it is using what, Tamara? It is using a single unit measure. That's the biggest point that you have to carry, a takeaway. While a time plot can resemble a scatter plot with a series of dots, you will often see these plots with the dots connected, especially when you're looking at Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, The Economist. I read those magazines just to understand, just to admire as I learn on how they actually present financial data. So you can see that. So to show where you have problems like a dip in here, you'll be able to explain that obviously it could have been just some form of noise. Yes, we know that time series can indeed be very difficult to analyze because of the noise or messy patterns which I had already indicated. If you look at the data, maybe not in terms of the population, maybe not in Zambia, but if you look at countries like Italy, maybe when it will be in 2022 and things have stabilized, agree with me. You agree with me. Sorry, I shouldn't say agree with me. You will agree with me that the population of most of the European countries in 2020 would have rescinded, would have regressed. The population growth, if it was at 15%, maybe it could even go to negative, because we saw how many people were actually dying, meaning that there wasn't even any time to think of reproducing. That's just a reality. So 2020 will be marked as noisy because it gives you messy patterns. We call it data noise. So the analysis is based on the assumption that the data has equal intervals, month, year, or decade, and this is what we are doing there. We saw those 2019, 2020, whatever. You cannot show months, then you also show in some years, you just show a year. It has to be based on equal intervals, and that is very, very key. So, how do you remove those noises? It's through a concept of smoothing. You are smoothing data. So I'm saying in order to see underlying trends, sometimes a technique called smoothing is used to create a line graph. Smoothing is especially important for predicting future events, like seeing if the stock market is trending up or down. So what you are doing, you are actually removing extraordinary events that would have actually caused the noise in your data. So you will see in your exams, you will have exponential smoothing. You will have the averages, moving average. That is smoothing. You are smoothing the data, guys. Or you're smoothing data. Any questions up to this far? Jesse, Kambatimvere. I hate teaching statistics. I hope I'm on track.
Yes, coach. Yes, coach. It is there, coach. We are following.
I hate teaching statistics. So I hope I'm there.
You are loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So, for those that are not endowed with the with some technologies, you can use smoothing, can be used by hand, just drawing within that. This is where you do what you call a line of best fit. Or a computer can do the smoothing for you. Excel has where you can do your moving average, your what. I'll show you briefly if we have time. It has all those things. And it will bring in that line that you want. Let me show you in a minute so that we are not just theorizing. Just wait for that. So let's just assume that you have 2001. These are years. So you have this is here. This is basically your sales. So we normally use this for the scatter graphs. That's why when you're trying to do your time series, we use this. We don't come here. You can use this, but it will give you problems. So you use the scatter graphs. Hello?
Yes.
Very good. So you use scatter graphs. These are the ones that you're plotting this time. So you have something like this. So over time it shows. But then you have seen there's 1 year which is very noisy. Which year is that? And this
2020.
side, and this side, you will show. That's what I was saying. What you have been asked in that particular thing is not possible. This side, you show that is revenue. So you cannot have so many, because you are being guided by your y-axis. So you cannot have different, you cannot plot items with different unit measure. Please understand that. So when you look at this data, you are able to see if you want to predict going into the future, you can see that 2020 had messy patterns, or it was noisy. So you know that your sales were affected for a country like Botswana that had actually gone on lockdown for how many months, Tamara?
It's actually now 1 year since we are stopping in March.
So for 1 year, so you'll be able to see. So you cannot use 2020 to project into the future because this is noisy. So here, this is where I can add the smoothing, add trend. So I can decide which trend I'm going to use. So if I come here, guys, you'll see there's exponential. All these are smoothening. I hope move there. All these are smoothening. I can use exponential. I can use linear. I can use this logarithmic. I can use the moving average. So mostly, if you check your questions, they are actually asking you to do your moving average. I can change the period here that it will be a moving average of 4. Hello? So 4 per moving average sales. So I can create something like this, but I would rather have a different color for this chart. Maybe ready? So do you know what it has done here? Hello, do you know what this smoothing has done?
It has smoothened the unusual trend in 2020.
So meaning that it has done that. And if I come here, guys, sorry. So if you want, this is where you're going to see all these things that we are doing. So if I come here, I do like this, Control 1. I'm not going to see anything this side with what I want to see. So if I come there and I trick Excel, I put the data sets. Don't worry about this noisy thing that we have. I do my Control 1. So here, it will show the X value, the what, and all those other things that you'd want to see. But let's not go this far. So you'll be able to see all these things from this end. You can remove this, remove the X, whatever. I have this particular chart. Then I can go here and say, which I've already added. I've already added that line. I don't want to have another single one. I don't want to have the other one, so I can still have the linear and all these other things. I can come this side and even put the equation. This is the equation that you are going to use to forecast into the future. This equation. So this equation here, Chinzi, in your exam, don't even waste time to start overthinking. Just go in Excel, get this equation. So this equation, it shows you on the variables. This 198178 is the fixed cost. It shows you that if you want to find y, get this amount, negative 91.613 times x. X will be the period, then, which is basically your variable, whatever it is, because you're using time as a variable, plus this particular thing here. So you have, is it -1? Negative 1.613. Then you have 19.8178. So you have these two variables. So if I come here, guys, and say I want to forecast, I can put here from 2023. I'll do like this, or I can still hide it in there. I'll do like this. I would say I'm picking this amount times the year. Can I use BODMAS here? Plus the constant, which is a fixed cost. So it will show me this is how I can project into the future. So if I increase the years here, I do like this. I take it up to, if someone wants me to forecast up to 2043, this is how it would move. So what is it showing with this data, guys? It's showing that if you remove the noise, the cells over time is actually doing what, Tamara? It's reducing. So instead of having a positive growth rate, you are actually having a negative growth rate. I can do this. If I want to use another forecasting method, I can say forecast. I want to forecast linear or whatever, or I can do this with a smoothening, exponential smoothening. So this is my target date. So I can come here is the array of the range, which is this. The timeline, which is this. I can leave these two, the seasonality and whatever data completion. I don't need them. Check how this data would be forecasted, sorry. There's some circular errors somewhere. It's bringing circular errors. So if I'm using that for exponential, this is what I would get. If I use for moving average, it will give me something different. This is how I would forecast into the future. But you can see the pattern here, guys. If I do like this, you'll see the pattern that is the same data. It shows that as we forecast, it's actually going down. This is linear part. So I can use different types of forecasting. So instead of using this, I can come here and use maybe the linear one here. You'll see that the numbers, they'll be almost closer to the other one this side. You have seen? Hello? What do you coach?
Yes, coach.
You have seen, coach.
So if this is a whole issue of what you're calling smoothing. So if you don't want to waste your time because you're doing modeling, you do what I've said in here. You just go fast, no kacha akamino akachan. You go to exponential there, you do all those things. You get that equation. Once you have that equation, then that's it. That equation, this equation that we have put in here on the trend, commoner. Let's go back to the presentation. Just wanted to give you an idea of what this status thing is. But if you look at it in terms of you go so much like academic, what, you will not understand it.
Just on this one, coach, on the revenue and time, which one is the dependent and the independent variable?
So if you look at this, revenue is dependent on time. Is it okay now, Jam? So revenue is dependent on what? On time. It is time that is driving revenue. Is it okay? So if you look at Y, basically your Y, you want to find the Y axis. So your Y axis is dependent on what? On time. Hello, is it all right, everyone? When you keep too quiet, I start getting worried.
We are following you.
We're following you.
We go back to this. So this is the smoothing thing. Just when you hear, you see it in the exam, do not get scared. just understand that it's because of data noise, so you need to actually smoothen your data. Mwamva?
Yes, coach.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. So that is what we're doing there, guys. But for us, we will not draw because we have the Excel package that we can use to do that. So this is where you are doing your drawing, creating what you call a line of best fit. So these are the common smoothing techniques. I had to remove quite a number of them. I had to remove them. I wanted to look at the ones that you could be familiar with, that your examiner would look at. The exponential smoothing, the moving average. We looked at a number of them there. I showed you Excel has quite a number of them. You don't need to stress. And for your own information, if you specialize in statistics or this time series things, because you know that it will come, you can still get yourself some good results there. Maybe not everything, but at least you can get 80% of what is required in that question. So you need to be very, very logical of which questions you pick. So you have seasonality in time series and you need to know how you handle it. So you're saying it refers to periodic fluctuations in time series data that happens at regular periods. Things like setting, those days in Livingstone, I don't know if that term is in English or what, it used to be, they used to call them at freezits because Livingstone is very hot. What were you calling them, Kuchpata, Tamara?
Visit, nimatikope.
So it's those things used to go with seasons. In June, you cannot just be eating freezes like whatever or buying freezes. Yes, when it's a bit hot, you can do that. But the sales, definitely they will go down. Ideally, even ice creams should do during cold season should go down. But sometimes this thing of tinavionela kulu, ice cream we still want to have it even when it's cold. That is a societal problem, that's a cultural problem. Ideally, it's not supposed to be like that. We are just defiling logic. So there should be some form of seasonalities, like setting umbrellas. So the mean squared error, what is the mean squared error? Because obviously in your assignment, you have to look at it. So I'm saying the mean squared error, just from the term itself, then it becomes easier for you to compute this mean squared error, or MSE. It's calculated as the average of the squared forecast. So once we do those forecasts, when we'll be looking at the forecast, then we actually square them. And that's how you get these error values, the squared forecast error values. So those error values, the differences, you square them because there will be variances. So when you square them, there is no negative that remains negative when you square it. So the instance here is that once you square them, the output will give you positive numbers. So it also has the effect of putting more weight on large errors, unfortunately. Which you will now use when you do your forecasting. So what is the meaning of multiple regression analysis? Just the term itself, multiple, it tells you that you have different variables. Instead of looking at one or a single variable, you'll be looking at multiple variables. So it is basically an extension of simple linear regression. Linear regression is y equals the independent times that variable plus the constant. Kwamana. Chasila Kwata. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please, you are free to ask.
Okay.
I wanted just to open you up on this topic so that as we start looking at the modeling part of it, it is actually going to be very easy for you because you would have gotten the concept from the industry point of view, not from the academias or academics, but from the industry part of it. Because there in the industry, we deal with practical things. We don't even read books. Pass my regards to Edvan. I can hear him in the background.
No, it's not me, it's somebody else.
Oh, okay. So we close here, but I want you all to check out. So I'll start with Chinyama.
Yeah, thank you very much, Coach. We are getting there. We hope for the best.
What did you learn today? Something
What
that
I
could
learned?
have, something that was very striking.
I think the smoothening aspect in data for the unusual trend, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
How you smoothen it, I think it has made sense.
Okay, thank you. Tamara.
For me, Coach, this one I still need to read. I would ask that maybe you would share these notes with us because there's some parts I haven't really understood.
Okay.
Yes, Coach.
So I'll post this and even the video on our website.
Okay, Coach. We
Jesse.
appreciate it.
Oh, Coach. Vivek, no, we still need to go through and concretize on what we have learned. Of course, you have given us an overview. You've given us a base, so we just have to cementize now.
Okay, thank you so much. And just know that it's a usual question in your exam because it's part of your course. Your course is called financial modeling, typing, and forecasting. So so you need to know that you have to do that forecasting part and also the typing. Rahab Wagumazabuga. Rahab, I'm waiting. As we're waiting for Rahab, Wupe.
Yes, Coach.
Mm-hmm. So check out.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for the introduction. We'll be looking forward to really know how to plot the different types of products and how they change, like the patterns, the demand patterns according to the season. I'll be happy to see that and try to relate it to what really happens in the market.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Wupe, I would give an example, say like in the finance world or financial world, say in the bank.
Yeah.
What you could actually plot against time, yes. Then also you could plot in terms of the non-performing loans.
Yes.
Then you see the pattern. you'll find that maybe in certain years, like 2020, grants, that is granted when you go and check on that data. In 2020, you'll find that the NPLs would have gone up because of the coronavirus, because people are now stressed. A lot of people have lost jobs. So they are actually failing to service their loans. But that is just noisy. It's because of what we're actually going through as a country, as a world. Rab, I haven't heard anything from you. Please.
For me, because I came in late, so things are still jumbled there. I'm hoping that when you share the notes I read, at least I'll get something. So, but I would say I got something on the smoothening part, at least. But I believe when I read the notes, it will all add up.
Sure. Okay, thank you so much. I don't know what time we'll start tomorrow. What time should we meet? No, it's just, since now we are used not meeting, not seeing each other, so maybe there's no big harm not meeting. You guide me.
Coach, we actually have to even get back to our old timetable.
This time we'll be meeting throughout.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you next time. See you
but
tomorrow. What time?
Same time tomorrow.
20 or 23.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Oh, 20 or 32, which one?
Maybe 20 hours.
20
Okay,
hours.
20 hours is fine.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, good night, everyone.